What's up, guys? It's Chris. Welcome to VHP Engines. So the other day I put out a video on sleeving blocks, right? If you want to get sleeve blocks through me, yes, I can do that. I got a couple of questions on that video that I figured I could turn into another video. So I'm doing that now. One of the questions was, is it worth sleeving a D series block? And another one was asking about B20. Now, I guess I'll start with the B20 first because that was the quickest one to answer. You know, the whole point, you got to remember, guys, that a B20 is essentially a B18 that is just bored out to 2.0 versus the 1.8. Most of the times when you see like a big powered, sleeve B series, because most of the time those guys are boosting, 84 millimeter is the size you see. Remember, no replacement for displacement. Now, with going to 84 millimeter off rip, I would imagine that if you need to start boring and honing later on down the line, you're still going to run into the limitations of making the cylinders too small. So if you want the most longevity out of reuse for your block, that sleeve block, then I guess you could start off at 81 millimeter and walk your way up from there. Like if you need to disassemble the engine and bring it back together, put it back together for whatever reason, or rebuild for whatever reason, that's more life you're getting out of that sleeve block. But yeah, 84 millimeter with aftermarket sleeves is 100% solid, healthy as fuck. It's super strong. I guess the only setback from that would be that, as rebuild times come later on, you only have so much more you can bore that out if there's wear on the cylinders. All right, but if you want the 84 millimeter, it's fine. So essentially what I'm saying is, they're talking about sleeving a B20. Well, at that point, you could sleeve a B18 or a B20 and just go out to 84 millimeter. It really doesn't matter at that point. You could do that with any B series, B16, GSR, it's whatever. You can choose that option off rip. You just have to be conscientious of your reuse later on down the line if you need to rebuild. The other question is the D series. Now, this is an opinionated one, but I think it's a valid one, a valid opinion, which is why I'm talking about it. The question was, do you sleeve a D series? Is it worth sleeving a D series? And my answer is no, I do not believe that it is. All right, there's two reasons, right? The number one reason being, and I mentioned this in another video and I talked about it, maybe I'll link it in the cards or link it at the end of the video or whatnot. D series, in my opinion, is the best budget for 500 wheel horsepower. If you want to get the 500 wheel horsepower mark and spend the least amount of money, the D series is the way to go, because you can spend $300 on rods and $100 on pistons, and that's a 500 wheel horsepower combo right there. Of course, turbo kit, whatnot. But still, if you're talking about just building the engine, there's no engine that you can build at the cost of a single cam that'll get you to 500 wheel horsepower. You can literally buy a fucking single cam, depending on where you are, for like $100, and then you spend another $400 on pistons and rods, and there's 500 wheel horsepower long block. All right, now that recipe for 500 wheel horsepower is also using cast pistons. All right, if you want more than 500 wheel horsepower, you need to use forged pistons, right? And then at that point, once you cross that 500 wheel horsepower mark on a single cam, you got to remember it's a very small engine. We're talking about like this big, for a short block. Well, that might be slightly exaggerated. Slightly exaggerated. It's a very small block, very small displacement. It's going to take a lot more effort to make power on that than it would a B series or a K series or H or whatever, or anything with a bigger bore. Of course, I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just, again, it's more effort, right? So I think the CSS guarantees why I had the website up earlier. Anyway, let's just say the 700 wheel horsepower being the ceiling. I don't look at CSS too often for D series because of the reasons I just gave you. I think the 500 wheel horsepower, if that's the goal for a D series, anything beyond that, I would move to a different platform. But if you want to insist on sticking with the D series and you really want to make more power, you're just going to invest a lot more money into it. You need forged pistons versus cast. Forged pistons is going to run you like around $550 versus the $100 you're going to get for the cast pistons. And then of course the cylinder reinforcement, which is the topic of the video. Yeah, if you sleeve a D series block, I think you're looking at around $1,000, $1,300, around that range. Or you could just go CSS, which is like $350 or $420. So I would think that the ideal route would be to just get CSS if you're trying to make more than 500 wheel horsepower on the T series. But again, at the end of the line, or at the end of the day, my bottom line recommendation for a 500 plus wheel horsepower build is to not go with the D. Because if you're going to invest big money in any way, you might as well invest big money into a platform that will make the power easier without so much strain. All right, guys, so that's it for that video. Social media links in the description down below. And peace. Thanks for watching.